Vikings move to 4-0 with their first division win. Final score in Lambeau, 31-29. Breaking it all down next on the Locked On Vikings postcast.
You are Locked On Vikings postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Vikings postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Got the full crew. Gophers legend Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show. Luke Braun, host of Locked On Vikings. Sam Ekstrom, host of the Minnesota Football Party. That's each and every Monday and Thursday. Lots to get into, fellas. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Boy, they hung on, but they made it close. A big nail biter. Ron, I'm going to keep this bit going as long as they let me. I've said it every week. I'll say it again. I'm looking at this schedule. I can't find a loss. What do you think? What's the headline read tomorrow morning as the Vikings move to 4-0?
Cheerio, is there any losses with the fish and chips? No, I think the headline is Riverboat O'Connell almost lost the game with not kicking the extra point or a field goal. A lot of people are going to talk about that. Yeah. I'll also say the injection of Jordan Addison into the offense, you forget how much you need him until you see him. Because I personally, I apologize, Jordan Addison, I'm making this my official apology to you. I wasn't familiar with your game, but I am familiar again now. I kind of, in the words of Shaquille O'Neal, I forgot how good that guy really is, because honestly, like when you don't see a guy for a while and Jalen Naylor does well, Justin Jefferson does well, you win. If they were losing, maybe we nitpick, but they were winning. So you're like, Jordan Addison, come back when you're ready. Having him back, I thought he came back too quick, and I'm like, oh, don't come back and hurt your ankles again. So just imagine week 6 or 7, you get TJ Hawkinson back, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Like Luke, I don't want to do it because I am scared. So I'm going to keep saying that loss could be anywhere around the corner. I do not want to. I don't want to do it. Like, my heart's been broken enough. Like, I don't want to do it, Sam.
Well, that's the thing, man.
Luke. I was looking forward to the Twins being in the playoffs, and look what happened. So that's what. Nope, I don't want to do it.
It's just muscle memory. We're all just burned as not just Vikings fans, but sports fans. Like, we don't want to get too excited, but you're right. Obviously, a lot of optimism to get Addison and then hopefully get the whole band back together, whether it's next week or after the bye, getting TJ Hawkinson. But yeah, you're right. Like, you beat San Fran, you beat Houston, but now you got to go on the road into Lambeau, show everybody you can do it against, your biggest division rival. We all know how huge these division games are. Jordan Love was back, hostile environment, plus the Packers being favored by 3 for me. That just told me, like, okay, there's still not a ton of belief in this team yet, like from a national public perspective, so to speak. So people want to still see, Sam Darnold specifically go out there and keep winning these games in a variety of ways, but they just keep checking some boxes. Defense still playing out of their minds. I know we can get into that, how maybe they left their foot off the gas a little bit, but they won, they held on, and they looked a part of a very complete team. Sam, your biggest takeaways.
One thing I want to say, Luke, because I don't want to forget this, and you just brought this up.
Yeah.
I was a part of a national call for something we're doing, right? I truly believe this, because after what the notes I was given, and I'm like, okay, I see what's going on now. I think Stephen A. Smith is purposely now going to hate on the Vikings because the Vikings have one of the most, like, Twitter happy friend group of, like, Twitter people that, like, will attack you when you talk about their fan base. They're going to post your videos on social media just to get more hate. Mm-hmm. I think Stephen A. Smith now, even though he knows the Vikings and Sam Darnold are good, him and Dan Orlovsky are purposely, like, Dan Orlovsky is going to be on this side and Stephen A is going to stay on this side regardless, the same way he does the Dallas Cowboys, because the Dallas Cowboys fans continuously come at him and he is happy being the villain. Why? Because he's happy to get the ratings. So at this point now, Stephen A, I know what you're doing. I get it. I 100% support it. Go get your ratings. But we all know the national media is going to purposely now still say, well, they haven't played the Lions yet. Let's wait till the Lions game.
Yeah, Love was hurt, they didn't have, forgetting that the Vikings were missing a key piece of their offense too still.
Their defense. Ivan Pace was out.
Evan Pace.
Yeah.
And Grugier Hill just did what? All he does is get interceptions. So.
Just one pick a game. He's good for it.
That was sweet, by the way. And there are definitely going to be bloviators that want to diss the Vikings and knock them down a peg, and Stephen A is an agitator and he's going to do stuff like that. But you are halfway through the gauntlet, right? This was the gauntlet at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
It was Niners, Texans, Packers. Now it's Jets, Lions, Rams, who are 1-3, by the way, and injured. So maybe not that gauntlet-y. That's the big headline, is that you're 4-0 halfway through the gauntlet, and you've got the London game coming up, bye week, Lions at home coming out of that, chance to build your division lead. That's huge. Second takeaway from this game, I feel like we got a lot of understanding of what a catch is today. Do you guys feel like you know any more about catch rule? How many catches?
Man.
And they all went in the Vikings' favor except one, which I think they got wrong. I think the interception was wrong at the goal line.
That was a mercy call, if I've ever seen one.
Yep.
Packers had some great non-catches today that were pretty acrobatic, spectacular. Sorry they didn't count. And then Jefferson with the stunner at the end. But that was kind of the game went 3.5 hours because they were reviewing catches for the last 3 of them.
Yeah.
I've got a stat for you. What do you think the lowest the win probability was in the fourth quarter during that rally? What's the worst it got for the Vikings? If you know it already, don't say it.
I'm gonna say 7%. I'm just throwing out a number.
Win probability. So
the win probability. Yeah, sorry. The lowest the Vikings win probability got. What do you think?
65 is my guess.
Yeah, 58.
65, 58.
Yeah. I'd say
81.7. Oh, I'm sorry, Ron.
I was way off. Wow. I thought I was in like the 40s because I thought they were haters out there.
Oh, no, it's just the thing is, with these win probability models too, like they don't hashtag no. They don't get the vibes of broken Vikings fans who watched collapse after collapse last year, who watched them give up 3-score leads all over the place. They don't feel it. They don't understand it in that, and in that kind of cold objective view, they were down 2 scores with 6 minutes left. Yeah, you needed a rally, but you always needed an onside kick. And even if you got the onside kick, then it's like, okay, then you need another drive just to tie it. Then you need to get to overtime. So there was a lot more that still needed to happen for this game to actually become, I'll say, in jeopardy for the Vikings, meaning below like a coin flip to win. There was still a lot more stuff that needed to happen. And we have these games every once in a while where they have the lead. There's a late kind of futile rally and it feels a little bit dicey. And then as you kind of process the game, you realize, actually kind of ripped them. And then it got situational for the fourth quarter.
Okay, so having said that, though, and knowing those numbers, when they scored that touchdown, Packers, that is, and got the 2-point conversion to go down 6, erase that 28-0 deficit, all of a sudden they're within 6. Who thought the Vikings were going to blow this thing? Be honest. We're in a safe place here.
Never a doubt.
Never a doubt.
Never a doubt.
I had doubts. at that point because the Packers never had the ball with a chance to lead the game, but how quickly could that have happened? Like the Vikings get the ball back. Darnold had just been strip sacked, and hey, credit to Kevin O'Connell for dropping him back another handful of times there and drawing up some good stuff because the Vikings moved the field pretty authoritatively there, up 6 with no confidence at that moment, and they got the big field goal. A really wacky second half. Just the game script got off. I think O'Connell was really caught between aggressive play calling but conservative decision making. He had a couple 4th and 1s that I think he goes for at most other junctures and didn't go for it in the second half because he's like, we got to protect the lead. So just some weird stuff. Defense was in a shell. I mean, Ron, do you feel like this was Flores getting exposed or just the way that like they backed off and sort of played preventing the big play in the second half?
No, so not exposed. That's what I'll say. Shout out to Peter Bukowski. Jordan Love is good. Jordan Love is good. And here's what I say on the Vikings pregame show today. My 3-minute drill is what we call it. My 3-minute drill, 4 plays. I had 2 Malik Willis plays. Did Malik Willis play today? I don't think he played, right?
No.
Yeah. So there was rumors that he was going to play, or they're going to have like some plays for him. Because I wanted to make sure I watched the game, but I know I was in and out of like watching my daughter's softball game, then going back to my phone, watching my daughter's softball game. And so I didn't ever see Malik Willis. I'm like, did he even play? But when I broke down the Jordan Love plays, here's what I noticed on passing downs for sure. Like we know we have to pass. They use a lot of motions and just token stuff so Jordan Love can understand the coverage. Brian Flores didn't get exposed, but what Jordan Love did a great job. Like the Byron Murphy, Josh Metellus. Murphy, I think, was trying to play the safety, and Metellus was playing the corner in that deep corner route throw. That was just Jordan Love understanding, like, look, I know you're trying to show me some other look, but I know you're going to get in cover 2. And so I'm going to stick with my read. And so I think he just does a great job of doing it. So Brian Flores is still doing his thing, but he just ran into a really smart quarterback who, one, was not going to even run today because he didn't want to get hurt. So no, I don't think he got exposed. I just think this is a really good quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers is good, so that's scary. But I think this team is built to score points, though. Like they're going to score 20+ points every game, I think.
Yeah, I want to keep getting into that. Plus our unsung heroes from today's game. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Game Time, because you should never have to worry when buying tickets to any big event. That's why Game Time, it's the fastest and it's the easiest way to buy tickets to any local event, concerts, comedy shows, sporting events, even Broadway theater, and with killer last-minute deals and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Personally, for me, I love that view from the seat feature, so you can get a real look at where your seats are going to be, so you know exactly what to expect before you spend all that money. Plus, with their all-in prices, Game Time shows you exactly how much you're spending with no hidden fees. Time to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. See for yourself just how easy it is. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, just create any new account. Redeem your code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Go download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, real quick. Any quick injuries we got to touch on? Got Addison back today, like Ron pointed out. That was huge. Dallas Turner came back, played a couple snaps. No Ivan Pace. Any notable injuries I may have missed that we need to touch on here real quick? Anything?
Seemed like a
Not
clean
on our
bill of
side.
health.
Pretty clean.
Yeah.
Christian Watson out, Devontae Wyatt out, but
Watson
nothing on the
for the
Vikings
Packers.
side.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
fair
well,
enough.
Sam Darnold did have another little knee
Little
incident.
awkward.
But he finished the game. He also finished the game against the Texans and had to do the MRI and had to do the whole thing. So we'll see how it feels. But that might be something to watch, but it's kind of one of those, is it going to swell up by morning kind of deals?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, moving on. Luke, you had that great stat about the win probability.
And by the way,
today.
Luke,
go
Ron,
ahead.
that's a great thing to keep an eye on, because that trip to London is long. And so if there is any swelling or any issues, that's going to be the problem. Getting across the
tough
pond.
to get on the
Good point.
Yeah, getting on. Well, not tough to get right, but getting off of it, like getting on it. How's the swelling? So are they going to be prepared to wrap it up? Make sure, as they fly, because I know that's a big issue, the cabin pressure, blah, blah. So, so we are going to have to keep an eye on that one.
I was just going to bust out my favorite stat of this season so far. They've played 4 games. Okay, so what do we got? 16 quarters. They've trailed for 3 minutes the entire season.
Did not trail 1 second of this game.
This is
Spent
crazy.
a few minutes of this game only leading by 1 score, including the end.
A few minutes. Go ahead.
It's 3.5. It's 3 games and 3 quarters of not trailing. It was the first quarter of the first game that they trailed 3-0. So we're going on.
Yeah, but only 3 minutes. Yeah, just it was 0-0 for a lot of that, and then they had 1 3-minute drive, took the lead back, and that was that.
Yeah, go ahead, Luke. Tee it up. I know you got a plan.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that was my favorite stat, and really just I was going to kind of ask you guys how sustainable, like 2022, I think we brought this up last week. Okay, they're winning all these games, 13-4, 1-score games, very fluky. Nobody thought it was sustainable. These games, no fluky wins here. I mean, yeah, this one was close today, but no last second, miracles or trick gadget plays. They just look like this complete football team. Great defense. Darnold making enough plays. The run game, finally, they got going. And not only are they 4-0 guys, but they knocked off 3 very good teams now with Jordan Love back, who, by the way, they won 2 games even without Jordan Love. So 3 very good wins on your resume, 4-0.
QB controversy in Green Bay.
Do we have it already? So for me, I think I said last week, like the sustainability factor feels like an 8 or 9 out of 10. Their defense, like Ron said, their defense is going to keep them in every game. KOC's putting Darnold in good positions. How sustainable, I guess, do you guys think this team is and the way they're winning right now? Like, what's the but in this equation, if anything, that's holding you back or holding the national perception back from saying this team is a legitimate contender in this league right now?
So one thing I think is holding it back is the Texans almost lost to the Jaguars. The Bears beat the Rams.
Oh, yeah, none of these playoff teams are good, huh? Nobody's good.
You have the Buccaneers blowing out the Eagles.
Yeah.
And so I think for some people, and even the Falcons beating the Saints, some people are always going to look at this team and say, oh, this is a weird year. This is this or this is that. Again, I think the Lions have to handle business against the Seahawks. The Vikings have to handle business against the Jets. And then on October 20th game, when the Lions come to US Bank Stadium, if the Vikings can handle the Lions with no problem, then I think people are like, you know what, this Vikings team is for real. But again, it's never gonna be like, I don't think anybody's gonna like, they can go 15-1, and I still think people are gonna question it.
Well, that's a good question because
where are no good teams in the whole league. There's only two. There's only two teams. No. Everybody's bad. The Vikings haven't beaten anybody as they hoist the Lombardi. Like, come on.
How about
who's good?
Undeniably, though, like say September's done, so the Vikings are played 4 September games. I think it's safe to say the league was not super prepared, like across the board. Just a lot of teams that look rusty, look like they didn't play in the preseason. The Vikings have been ready all September. Now, other teams could catch up to them, but they've been the most prepared September team, I think, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is like
we're setting up this. We're setting up this absolutely ridiculous scenario where they could go beat the Jets, go into the bye 5-0, lose a close one against the Lions, good team, be a 5-1, and everybody goes, I knew they were frauds. Right. Like at some point, they have kicked the absolute crap out of the defending NFC champion, the defending AFC South champion, and the Packers that were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders up until the last half when it went into all scramble drills and Jordan Love kind of decided he was just going to take over the game. They have kicked the crap out of teams for a long time. It is not, it's not 2016. They would be losing, but for a punt return touchdown, it isn't that now. And the only reason this game got close was because things loosened up a lot in the second half and it got all scramble drills. But every one of those big, long explosives took forever in the pocket if you could just chase down Jordan Love, and he did a great job. But I think if you want to look, like, you have to start really coping if you want to look at the Vikings and be like, yeah, well, but if you take away 3 of those turnovers and make them miss 2 more field goals, and also you look at the other teams and maybe they aren't really even good, and if you overturn 5, 6, or 7 things, then maybe they only win that game by a score. It's like, come on.
2 years ago, remember 2 years ago we had that same argument, Sam. You remember this argument? I'm not gonna say the person's name, but we had the same argument 2 years ago. A Packers podcast and a Vikings podcast butted heads.
Oh, he's doing the same thing right now.
I think we can mention his name. He's on the same network.
He's on the network.
Locked On Packers.
I feel like
Locked On Sports Today host.
His name 3 times, he might pop up. So I don't want to do that.
So where are we at? Can we say?
But no, I'm just saying. Just think about it though. He said DVOA. Remember, and like, the defense is giving up way. Yeah, the defense is giving up way too many yards, and it's not sustainable. You can't win when you're only winning by 1 touchdown or 1 score games, like all of that. Like they can keep coming up with reasons, and they're going to do that. But the Chargers right now are beating the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs might come back, but we could wake up Tuesday morning and the Vikings and the Bills are the only undefeated teams in the NFL. And that's what's crazy.
So does this division still go through Detroit as of today? Or is this
I don't think so.
Vikings are leading it.
Okay.
Super Bowl odds preseason were a month ago at this point. Now there's division standing. So even if the Vikings are fake, you still got to get games back on them. Now they have a lead. They can afford to lose one and still be at least tied for the division.
That's why
I wish I had bet on the Vikings to win to make the playoff. The Vikings was a plus 800 to make the playoffs. Yeah. And people were scared to take that.
Dude, I don't think you can take it anymore. I think it's like minus 200 or something.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I wish I had took it.
The Super Bowl odds, the KOC for Coach of the Year. I'm thinking about, I got a lot of regrets going on about not putting some dough on the Vikings. Sam, what do you think? Like, I feel like the Vikes have completely flipped this division on its head through these first 4 games compared to everybody's preseason expectations. Lions are 2-1. They play Seattle tomorrow night. Does this thing still go through Detroit until somebody can knock them off? Or where are you, I guess, on the vibe of the NFC North right now?
No, I mean, like, we have 4 weeks of results now, right? And
Big
the Vikings...
sample.
That's a quarter of the season.
Season's a quarter over. Like,
the Lions could win tomorrow, be 3-1, right on their tail with a chance to take the division lead from them in week 7. That could happen. I still think the Lions are a force to be reckoned with. I don't think the Lions are super diminished in our view of them. But I think that with the injury to Love, the couple losses the Packers have suffered early, the Vikings have built themselves a nice little advantage here. And I don't think the Bears are scaring too many people with the way Caleb Williams has played. So I think you've got 2 teams in the division that have maybe underperformed based on expectation. 1 team in the Lions that's probably right, kind of where you expected, maybe a little underperformed as well. 1 team that's overperformed, and they've done it convincingly with a lot of complimentary football. Yeah. And to answer your original question, Luke, I think there's a lot sustainable about it. I don't know if today's the perfect example of it, because today was just a weird football game, ton of turnovers, special team swings, weird stuff happening, missed kicks. But if you add this on to the first 3 weeks of the season, on the whole, 4 convincing weeks for the Vikings, I think, yes, much more sustainable than the 2022 season, where Bukowski might have actually been a little bit right.
Well said. Good breakdown there.
Yeah,
one more segment to
14
go.
times in a row.
Let's do a quick sneak peek at Week 5 versus Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in London. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now for a limited time, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with any $5 wager. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, that's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Go check it out at FanDuel.com. Get in on some Monday Night Football action while you're there. Doubleheader tomorrow, Titans-Dolphins, Lions-Seahawks. I like Sam Laporta to finally get in the end zone at plus 120. It's all up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with your first $5 wager. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. By the way, full deep dive into every nook and cranny of this thing tomorrow on the Minnesota Football Party with our guy Arif Hassan. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you keep up with all the action every Monday and Thursday for those episodes. All right, we got a 4-game sample size now, as we're discussing. A pretty big sample size to go off of. Who's been your guys, kind of rapid fire, just your biggest unsung heroes to this 4-0 start? Maybe a guy who's just exceeded your expectations from what you thought when we kind of look back at our preseason expectations. A guy you think that just deserves some love, some flowers. Sam, hand out some flowers here through these first 4 games. Who you got?
Top how about Patrick Jones? 5 sacks, 4 games.
Yeah.
I think he had the only sack today of Jordan Love, who was surprisingly unsackable, but he also rushed a lot of throws and threw 3 picks. So credit Patrick Jones in that pass rush. He's become your edge 3 above Dallas Turner, I think. I would also toss one flower to Stephon Gilmore, who I think continues to put together a solid season. You always worry about old cornerbacks falling off the cliff, and he absolutely has not. So maybe some lapses today in the secondary. Not going to stress too much about it. They continue to perform well. Stephon Gilmore, the elder statesman back there at corner, with along with Harrison Smith, of course.
I like it. 2 popular ones for sure. Ron, almost a quarter mark, at the season, I guess 4 games in, almost there. Who you got, just an unsung hero that's really sticking out to you and impressing you through these first 4 games?
Well, I'm going to go with the entire offensive line. Like,
sure.
You look at the run game.
What a day.
I mean,
yeah.
You can't say
front.
it's just Aaron Jones. Yes, it's Aaron Jones. We know that. Aaron Jones is good. He falls forward for 5 yards. He's definitely not Alexander Mattison. I think Alexander Mattison was good. I honestly believe if the Vikings could have found a way to keep Alexander Mattison with Aaron Jones, I think you get the same production out of Alexander Mattison that you had when you had Dalvin Cook. He's a number 2 running back, in my opinion. He's not a carry the ball all the time guy, and Aaron Jones needs a guy like that. But again, back to this. I got to go with the offensive line. Sam Darnold's been upright for most of the season. Even when he breaks, when he has a chance to throw the ball deep, they're holding it for an extra second. The double move by Jordan Addison today, like he had a clean pocket. And so now that's the hate now too. People are saying, well, what if Sam Darnold didn't have a clean pocket? When he has a dirty pocket, here's his stats. Shut up. Like, he's good. And so that's the thing that you get out of this. So, yeah.
Luke, hand out some flowers. Who you just loving through these first 4 games that maybe, you look back at the original preseason training camp stuff and you just didn't see this kind of performance coming.
God, there's so many to choose from. The
is,
Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore duo have been everything you could have asked for, but I'm going to give it to the most unsung. I think I've said this guy like 3 or 4 times you've asked this question, but it's Jonathan Bullard. What a fantastic game Jonathan Bullard had. When you flick on the tape, especially against some of those runs on those like really crucial, like 2nd and 6, where if they make it a 3rd and 1, they're just going to like keep on rolling, getting run stops there. They tried to reach him a lot and they just could not reach him with those zone runs. I think that was a huge part of what put the Packers behind the chains a lot. And then you put Jordan Love into 3rd and 10 and he starts trying to force windows and that's the intercept. And like everything just starts to fall apart from there. But like a very unseen impact when it's like the big boys up front, the D tackle is just getting, run for a yard in a cloud of dust, and Kevin Harlan sounds bored. But those are so impactful because of how they impact like the down and distance.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good under the radar one. A guy that just doesn't get a lot of love and flowers that absolutely should. Quiet game today compared to what we've seen through the first 3 weeks. He's probably going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit more. And this defense is just going to have a new guy pop up every week. But I knew Van Ginkel would be flying around. I think legitimately, though, pound for pound, he may be the best defensive acquisition in the NFL so far this year. And again, quieter game today. I get it. But you just look at the total sample of all 4 games. He is such a Swiss Army knife, and he is doing so many great things for Brian Flores. Where does this KOC Flores coaching combo kind of rank in the NFL? Let me ask it this way. How many defensive coordinator, head coach kind of combos can you confidently rank higher than what KOC and Flores have done through these first 4 weeks? Andy Reid and Spags is always going to be the top choice on everybody's minds. Is there one or two others I'm forgetting?
Boy, that is a great question.
I mean, McVay,
because I got to put Tomlin in there just because he's dragging another crappy roster to leading the division again.
I'm a Tomlin guy. Yeah.
How many combos? Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
No, you were gonna say go, Luke.
Well, I was just gonna say how many times do you get a combo of like an offensive minded head coach and then like a former head coach, defensive coordinator who's got sort of the reputation of Flores? How often do you get those tandems together for multiple years? Because usually, the one of them moves on. One of them gets promoted when they show what they've shown. But because of Flores's circumstances, the league lawsuit, and for whatever reason, unable to get a head coaching job, like that just kind of it strengthens the duo because they're able to have a full off season together. They can do this multiple years now, and we actually get to see that partnership get even stronger.
Yeah, Flores definitely spent some time in the lab, and the changes on coverage that he made, like he didn't abandon the philosophy of like the zone coverages behind these blitzes, which is such a crazy thing to do. It's such a faux pas, and he's managed to find a way to do it. Had to experiment around a little last year, got figured out a little bit last year, and now what he has done is sort of covered the holes that popped up. I think the only way to develop this kind of thing is to put it in front of a bunch of smart OCs and see how they start to attack it. And then you got to go, okay, really important to like make sure we cover the flats and all that stuff. That's all very cool. And I think where it broke down was major scramble drills. I mean, how many of those big plays were Jordan Love escaping what should have been a sack, what could have been a sack, but they couldn't bring him down, and then he just heaves one up, finding a guy open after 5-6 seconds into the play. You can't really expect guys to cover that long anyways. So I think if we're going to talk about what went wrong on the defense in the second half, it's honestly, hey, you just just tackle the quarterback better next time.
Yeah,
you can bring him down on those, you're good.
And they still got pressure, 10 quarterback hits.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, and he escaped those and made a play. Right, you can't expect the coverage to hold up that much, especially on a blitzed coverage. You got to get there and you got to get him down, and that is just something that I just don't feel like I'm worried about with like Aaron Rodgers coming up.
I do want to say here's one combo that people are going to start to talk about if they continue on this path.
Yep,
it's going to be the Buccaneers, and you got Larry Foote, who's a guy who played Little League football.
That's a sneaky one.
Yeah, he's co-coordinator now, but you have to think about his Michigan pedigree, his Steelers origin, and now moving on to the Bucks, being behind so many great coaches with the Bucks, and now he's taking over as co-coordinator. So you got him and Casey Rogers with that coaching staff there, and we know that who's the coach that left? I keep forgetting who left. Who was there?
Dave Canales.
He stepped down as head coach so that
Bruce Arians.
Couple years ago.
Yeah, so Bruce Arians kind of like stepped aside. He's still in the building, but he stepped aside so that he could, he knew who he wanted to be head coach.
Yeah.
So I think that's a sneaky one in there too, because at 3-1, nobody expected the Bucks to be 3-1, and what you're seeing is young coaches getting their players to play for them, and so that's where I think that's the sneaky one though.
Yeah.
But
that is sneaky.
I think people are gonna come back and say like, the NFL is just not good this year. It's just not good. That's why the Vikings are so good.
Yeah. The NFC South, by the way, is just so weird.
You never just let them be good.
Dan
right?
Campbell, Ben
there's
Johnson.
30 bad teams. Easy year.
Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, probably.
I love that one.
I was gonna say the Lions.
Yeah. That's
the one. That one. Yeah, definitely gives KOC and Flores a run for their money for sure. Quick sneak peek. I know we got to get out of here in a couple minutes. Ron's got to go, but quick sneak peek. Jets game next week in London. Ziggy might move the Vikes over there if they keep winning. They're 3-0 in London. Steelers game, Browns game, Saints, double doink. Hopefully they keep this streak alive. I think for me, I immediately think of just Aaron Rodgers now versus this defense we keep talking about. We keep asking ourselves, like, who's going to be the team? Who's going to be the quarterback to kind of figure this whole defense out, wear this defense down, expose some things, find out where this defense is vulnerable, so to speak. I think it just makes the most sense that it would be a quarterback who's been in the league 18 seasons and seen darn near every type of coverage and defensive scheme and blitz known to man at one point or another. So that would be my logical choice. But maybe it's Rodgers, next week. Maybe it's not. But I do think it's going to be a veteran type of quarterback who's been around the block and has a long resume. That's just where my head goes first. Anybody, any three of you, Vikes Jets in London, what's a storyline or just a matchup?
Are you guys aware what happened today with the Jets and Broncos?
Yeah, I saw this.
I think this is the worst football game ever played. It might be the worst game ever played. The Broncos beat the Jets 10-9. Bo Nix had 60 yards passing. Rodgers got sacked 5 times, and the Jets had 13 penalties.
See you later on.
That's
have fun on the radio.
I was going to give my last Jets.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Do it.
But so the storyline for me is going to be Aaron Rodgers, because he's talked about this with what's his name? Who's the guy he gets? Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
And he talked about going up against great defensive coordinators. I think this one for Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be paying a lot of attention to what's going on with Brian Flores' defense. They're going to watch a ton of Packers tape. He's going to try to see what Jordan Love did well. But the storyline I'm looking forward to is Garrett Wilson on one side, Justin Jefferson and Sauce Gardner on the other. So you got everybody against Garrett Wilson on this defense. And then you got Justin Jefferson versus Sauce Gardner, because Sauce Gardner doesn't really talk like Jair Alexander. Sauce is kind of a quiet assassin. Until you say something to him, he's going to say it back. So I want to see how the Jets handle this. Like, do they just say, Sauce, you go get Justin, and we got to cover everybody else? Or do they just treat Justin Jefferson just like another piece on the field because they know Jordan Addison is on the other side? So that's my storyline, is how do they handle this Justin Jefferson on this side, and how does Flores handle Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, well said, Ron. Good stuff.
Also, Tyler Conklin get a chance to play against his own
Conklin
team.
Revenge game.
Yeah, Gronklin revenge game. Let's go.
Yeah, Gronklin. I forgot about that. Gronklin revenge game. I love that. That's awesome. All right. What do we got? 2 minutes left here. Just give me one week 4 observation. Sam just called out the Jets losing, Saints. We've covered that. Just give me one week 4 observation, or it could be just big picture now that we're through 4 weeks, now that you're watching some early scoreboard stuff right now. What's sticking out to you right now across the league, just in general?
I have no idea what else happened in the league today, but I'll say this about the Vikings as kind of a closing thought.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to feel a lot better about this game than you do right now. This is one of those games where it feels in the moment so much worse than it actually is, and then you're going to go, okay, yeah, actually they needed like 3 or 4 other things, and they really didn't. They got more than we wanted them to, and maybe we got a problem to address with scramble drills. But okay, this was a butt kicking that kind of got squirrely at the end, but this was 3/4 of a butt kicking.
I want to raise this question though. I know this again. Luke asked about the league. I'm talking about the game, but I want to ask you guys, do you put anything on KOC for letting it get to the point it did with regard to 4th down decision-making, 3 4th and 1, I think 2 4th and 1s where he punted, and then 4th and 1 at the very end where he didn't kick. And then
I don't mind those.
And then of those
run pass balance as well. He was very aggressive.
Yeah.
One thing I do when I take my notes during a game is whenever we get to a decision like that, I will always write down what I would do to make sure that I'm not like hindsighting too bad if it goes bad. Yeah. And I agreed with all 3.
I thought, hey, a couple of those you're up 21.
Don't give them the ball at midfield. The only way you lose this game is by giving them a short field, like in the strip sack, right? Like that's the only way that this gets even a little bit weird. So I was good with that. My thing with O'Connell is like, dude, you've got to just be willing to run the ball. The Vikings have been running, especially duo, straight up the middle. At one of the best teams in the league at it right now. You got to just hand this thing off to the guy in his hometown, in his home stadium. That just let Aaron Jones take this thing home for you. But that drive at the end that ended up being the go ahead, the clinching field goal was still pass. A run Darnold tried to can out of, I think, and then a pass. Like, run the ball.
Run the ball.
Yeah. Well, and the interception came on a 2nd and 1 in the red zone. Like you could have ended the game right there. There's a couple times this year, like against the Niners and then against the Packers, where Vikings are in the red zone with a chance to end the game, just like seal the game, take all the intrigue out, and they've turned it over. So and those are kind of fluky sometimes. You can't be scared, but let's point to that as well. That was a huge turning point when they turned that over in the red zone, up by 21. And again, Sam Darnold, a couple giveaways. Yep. I don't think he can give the ball away at the rate he's been doing it. And
eventually they'll come up against a real team that like an actual good team. Unlike the Texans, 49ers, or Packers.
Well, speaking of that, Sam, and I know we don't have time to go down a whole rabbit hole, but how about the first opening drives for both teams? I mean, Darnold had an interception that was dropped, and then Wicks on a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 dropped a wide open pass that could have walked in the end zone, and then they missed that field goal. Ultimately, they missed 2 field goals. So I'm with you. Yeah, plenty to discuss tomorrow on the football party. Can't wait to do that. Vikes win a nail-biter, though, in Lambeau. Final score 29-27. They moved to 4-0. We can't find a loss on the schedule. Pack your bags, off to London next week. Kickoff for that one. It's an early one, 8:30 a.m. kickoff start here in the Central Time Zone. That means, Luke, you got to wake up at what, 6:30 for that?
Yep, 6:30 a.m., baby.
Holy smokes, baby. All right, huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Go check out all of Ron's work every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. Luke's always killing it every day over at Locked On Vikings, plus Sam Ekstrom hosting all of us on the Minnesota Football Party. That's every Monday and Thursday. Again, should be another fantastic episode with Arifas on tomorrow as well. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll see you next week, bright and early. Vikes Jets in London. But until then, signing out.